everybody. Welcome to this new series I'm going to call Think About It With Your Head for 2 minutes. I'm going to try to keep those videos under 2 minutes, not this morning. This is in honor of all my buddies from the military back in the days and when I was first speaking English. So in those videos, I'm going to share with you just like off the cuffs comments and thoughts that came to me over the days, my walks, and that kind of stuff. No real goal other than just provoke the thoughts, just make you think, that kind of things. So 2 mornings ago, I was walking just like usual, and we just had a big dump of snow the morning before, the day before. And so you can imagine that a couple of days later, with everybody walking on the paths, the snow was really packed hard, and then it rained. And so that morning when I was walking in the park, it was early in the morning, I realized really quickly, because of my hips and pain and all this, that it was not the best decision to walk on that path. And realized quickly that because of the rest of the snow not having been packed, it totally melted. So if you could walk on the edges of the path or just a little bit off the path, maybe a foot or two, and it was nice, clear ground that you could walk on and be fine. And as I walked and I passed humans after humans, what I realized is that the humans were all walking on the path, struggling, and I kept passing them. Meanwhile, me and the dogs were walking around, like just off the path or in the woods or around a bush or whatever. And so that made me realize how victim we are of concepts. And concepts really are words. There are things we overlay over nature, and there's different levels of concept, when you think about how we break down things and how we submit ourselves to those words, to those concepts. And so, for example, like for me, if I look at somebody else, I'll say, oh, here's my buddy, or that's somebody, or whatever. And so we'll look at the body as one full entity, and we call it a body. Then from a physiological point of view, we're talking about organs and tissue and bones. And so we don't really talk about a body, but a bunch of things put together that then makes this thing. And then if we talk from a physicist point of view, then we don't even talk about organs or anything like that. We're talking about molecules, we're talking about atoms, so on and so forth. And then we keep going down the level of concept of word or linguistics. And then what we really come to the conclusion of from a scientific point of view, as much as from a philosophical point of view, is that it's mostly nothing, right? We talk a little bit about everything here, but mostly nothing. Here we are. So it's waves, frequency, probability, so energy versus mass. And so what we realize is depending on the words we use or the level of concept we use, we're going to have a different focus on what we're looking at or what we're overlaying on top of nature. Nature doesn't change, but what we see out of it is different. So what we believe in, so the words we're using, is what makes emerge what we see out of it. Not that it changes, but everything changes from this point of view out. And so the nature itself hasn't changed, and I explained to Alicia, and I want to just do a little parallel on that, on how the words are and the concept are the same thing and how powerful it is, and lately she's been really into Harry Potter, right? And Harry Potter is really about like magic and magic spells and swinging a wand and stuff like that. And I asked Alicia, and I often tells her, like, how's that different than what you're doing right now? Like drawing a picture, for example, or what we do in everyday life. So I'll give you an example of that. I'm sure that it's pretty obvious. So if I go, okay, everybody, today we're going to spend an hour, and you don't have a choice, you have to sit through this, an hour about taxes, how you can maximize your return on your tax income and the things you can do and strategies you can do throughout the year to maximize your returns. How do you feel? Probably not overly excited. Now, if I say, everybody, I'm here to announce that I'm going to fly everybody to Hawaii to have a big free party for a week, pizza, ice cream, for the 10th first person that contact me through this channel, da-da-da-da-da. Totally different, right? So depending on the words, ideas will emerge that are different from one to another. And that's the interaction with reality. You're not in control on which track your ideas are shifting at that point. You're kind of just watching what's emerging from what you've heard and interacted with. And how's that different with me waving my hands around? Like, you know, in Harry Potter, they go like, Leviotam Leviosa, and then something happens. And how is that different from us moving hands around or speaking, using the words like, if I say ice cream, you feel totally different than if I say taxes. And we should not disregard that. I think that's the essence of who we are. It's at that level, you know, that level of no concept. And so I think it's important to understand that, like, you know, just like I asked Alicia, like, where is the idea of this picture coming from? You know, did you think about thinking about that? No, it just came into your mind. And then how's that pen, which has the power of coloring, is any different of a magic wand moving around and then creating something out of thin air, like, out of nothing? So, you know, like, I think that this kind of discussion is important to just observe those kinds of things. And then that allows us to try to go to a level of focus where we realize the emptiness, we realize, you know, that everything is in movement, that there's nothing really defined as in the concept we're dearly holding on to, that things are much more fluid than that the concept we're holding on to is really whatever we decide to tell ourselves. And depending the words we decide to use, then we'll produce a totally different story. And I think it's important for the people around us to be a reflection of that reality, to be true, to find that place of removing those concepts, not in a sense that they're not there, but in the sense of seeing them so that they can be identified and then not have the power that they would normally have, you know. In Zen, they talk about the ducks taking flights over the lake and how the ducks don't mean to project their image onto the water, and how the water acts as a mirror and doesn't mean to keep the image, doesn't mean to retain it, it just projects it back. So I think that it leads us to something that I've been talking about lately, the concept of the 6 and the 9, and what I think a lot of people are missing about this. So I'd like to just do that quick, if I can. So I'm sure everybody has seen online or somewhere the whole thing about like two people, one on each other of like what looks like whichever it's drawn, a 6 or either a 9, right? And then there's somebody here on this side and somebody here on this side. And then the argument is, it's a 6. No, it's a 9. Don't forget, the 6 or the 9 don't exist. Those are the concept we're talking about, right? So projecting 6 or 9 onto this thing is just the thing. It's just this. It can be a 6, can be a 9, it doesn't matter. It depends on the concept and the level of concept you want to put on it. So what I'm saying is that the most important thing in life, I think, that I'd like to, not the most important, but one of the important ones, is that these two people are arguing about is this a 6 or a 9, and then debating, they're really debating their concept, right? So he's debating that's a 9, and he's debating that's a 6, and both of them are right from a concept point of view, and the problem is that they also agree on what that thing is, but they don't agree on what they're seeing or what they're experiencing, and that's the point. I think that's most important to resolve a lot of conflict. Is that we have to stop saying to people, you're right. We should say to people, what you told me is true, right? Because when we say to somebody, you're right, it implies that I was wrong. And nobody is wrong in this concept. But what I think both sides need to understand is that they're talking about the same thing, different concept, which then brings them a different experience. And really what the difference is, I believe, in between these two, is that one person is experiencing this, meanwhile, the other person is experiencing this. Again, they're applying their concept, but I'm trying to represent the experience with the color here. That this person really is just asking this person to recognize what they're seeing. That they're seeing the same thing but experiencing it from a different point of view. And once we accept somebody else's point of view, right or wrong, because it's not right or wrong, it's just the truth. It's a different truth, what they've experienced. Then we can understand each other. We drop the concept of 6 and 9, right? So then we start arguing. We see it's just a thing, it's just nature. We're just talking about different concept that we're imposing onto nature from our different point of views. But really that just results in a different experience that I'm representing by a different color of the same thing. And so I'm gonna leave you guys on that. I'm really excited. Anyway, so Cheers. Talk to you guys later.